Wolfpack of NC State is 6-1 and making believers of everyone. NC State has done it with defense, and last week Clemson became the 4th straight team not to visit the Wolfpack end zone. So optimism is high in Raleigh, but respect is what NC State is looking for. This is Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh, the home of the NC State Wolfpack, and they've been waiting for the visit from the guys from the south of here, the Gamecocks of South Carolina. South Carolina comes in ranked number 17 in the nation. NC State looking for revenge after what happened to them in this series a year ago. Good evening, I'm Bob Carpenter, and we always talk about what directions and which teams are heading. Well, how about the directions from which these teams are coming into this game tonight? A big upset a couple of weeks ago as Georgia Tech shut out South Carolina, a real shocker. Meanwhile, NC State, an impressive low-scoring win. That's pretty par for the course for them over Clemson a week ago. And Kevin Kiley, this South Carolina team has had 2 weeks to sit around and think about that debacle against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Bobby, this joint is jumping here tonight. They're going to have a problem. Todd Ellis started the year very strong. Quarterback for South Carolina. He threw 9 interceptions, though, in the past 2 games. A quarterback, well, he gets the credit and he gets the blame. For Ellis, to be truthful, he's had some problems because he doesn't have the same receivers. He lost Ryan Bethea, Sterling Sharp, 2 great receivers from last year's team. And Harold Green, the great running back, has been injured. But Green is feeling better. We're 2 weeks down the road, ready to get ready for this thing. And I think South Carolina play a good game.
They'll have to play a good game offensively because defensively, North Carolina State, along with Auburn, the top 2 in the nation.
Well, there's a pack of wolves here, right? The Wolfpack. This is a great defensive team, but they've got a problem. Last week against Clemson, they lost their number 1 tackler, their emotional leader, Fred Stone, the inside linebacker. He'll be replaced by a guy named Ray Frost, who has not played this year. They wanted to redshirt him. Last year, he filled in for Stone, played most of the year. 7 games he started. He's got to come back off the redshirt list to lead the North Carolina number 1 defense going into today's action in tonight's game.
All right, so it's a matchup of good offense to the visitors, great defense by the home team, and we'll take you down to the field now as South Carolina gets set to take the field for what is the most important game for them. Tied for first place in the ACC. The conference not at stake tonight, but here comes the Wolfpack. ESPN's presentation of CFA football is being brought to you by Michelob. One taste will tell you why the night belongs to Michelob. By Avia, the one line of athletic shoes really designed and engineered for athletic use only. And by the First Brands Corporation, makers of Prestone Advanced Formula Antifreeze.
Someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. Lovely, don't you ever change, 'cause I love you just the way you look tonight.
One taste will tell you why.
Just the way you look tonight.
The night belongs to Michelob.
I'm out of here. I gotta go. Don't choke on it. What you gonna do with the ball?
When you get your shot, you gonna be ready?
Gillette has changed the face of shaving. First, we made it closer. Then we made it smoother. Atra Plus. Its Lubra Smooth Strip actually releases lubricants to glide the razor more smoothly. Incredible smoothness from the first stroke to the last. The Atra Plus system. First we made it closer, then we made it smoother.
Welcome back to Raleigh. I'm Chris Fowler. The South Carolina football program and head coach Joe Morrison were rocked last week by an article which appeared in Sports Illustrated, written by former Gamecock player Tommy Chaikin. And in that article, Chaikin alleged that 2 seasons ago, half the Gamecock players were using steroids, and that some members of the coaching staff knew about this and did not take serious steps to prevent it. Now, the university has denied these allegations. Joe Morrison has said he did not know about steroid use 2 years ago. One of the men involved in trying to put out the fire with this controversy, the athletic director for the University of South Carolina, King Dixon, the 4th man to hold that position in the last year. Now, you've compared the challenge of dealing with this to leading men into combat as a Marine officer. What steps will you take, King?
Chris, we really have a challenge at the university. Number one, back in April of this year, we really put into practice there a new wellness, alcohol, drug, health program to try to prevent any type of recurrence if in fact any of these allegations are true. We're very comfortable with our program, and now we're trying to regroup and turn this into a very positive situation. We're all aware of these steroid allegations, and by God, if any of them are true, let's learn a lesson from them.
You've called for more discipline within the athletic program. Will retesting right now, perhaps by an independent testing group, be one of the things you'll do to try to clear the air?
Chris, we're talking about really getting our guys together, driving on for the future. We believe that we have a wonderful program going, and we're going to turn it around.
Has the situation affected the job status of Coach Joe Morrison at all?
Joe Morrison and I are very close friends. Joe has a firm command of things, and I hope he does for this ball game tonight.
Okay, thanks very much for joining us, King. Just as a footnote, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division will conduct a preliminary inquiry, not an investigation, but an inquiry to see if there is enough evidence here to conduct a full investigation. Back upstairs to Bob and Kevin.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. We're just about set for kickoff, and Joe Morrison, Kevin, says that coaches have to educate and advise young men, but somewhere along the line, the decision is still left up to the individual, and that's something for youngsters to know everywhere.
Right. If you're a football player and you want to get big, I suggest you get a milkshake and lift the weights. I know personally I gained 50 pounds in 2 years without taking steroids, and I didn't lose a whole lot of quickness, and I wasn't all that great. You can do it without steroids, kids. Don't even think about it.
Brian Carter kicks it off for NC State. It's Gerald Williams inside his 5, right up the middle. He's got good yardage over the 30 to the 40-yard line. And it'll be good field position for the visiting team to start things off. South Carolina offense. Todd Ellis struggling a bit lately. He's thrown 9 interceptions in the last 2 games. Complimentary running backs, fullback Keith Bring, the blocker, tailback Harold Green, the top runner. Freshman Robert Brooks, sophomore Anthony Parler are the receivers. They're lining up quickly in the eye. Ellis behind center, Randy Harwell. And to throw on first down to the right side, it's Harold Green, the tailback, and he's lucky to get back to the line of scrimmage. Jesse Campbell, strong safety, made the stop. Carl Platt, really more of a wide receiver than a tight end. 5th-year senior Randy Harwell is the center. Senior Paul Shivers, sophomore Calvin Stevens, the guards. Ike Harris, the sophomore. Junior Mark Fryer, the offensive tackles. No gain on the play. It'll be 2nd and 10. South Carolina, along with NC State, 6-1 on the year. First time the Gamecocks have played in 2 weeks. The pitch is to the tailback Harold Green. Good yardage across midfield for a first down. Fernandez Vincent, the left cornerback, came up to get him. NC State defensively. The versatile State defense anchored by senior nose guard John Adlita. Ray Agnew, the star on the left side. Derek Debnam, the tackles. Scott Auer, a good senior, next to Agnew. Bobby Houston, the outside linebackers. Sophomores Ray Frost and Corey Edmond, the inside backers. Fred Stone injured. The corners, Joe Johnson and Fernandez Vincent, the sophomores. Jesse Campbell, a budding freshman star at strong safety. Senior Michael Brooks at free safety. First down at the 47 of NC State. Whistles and flags as Harold Green, the tailback, again the carrier. Fernandez Vincent from left cornerback. A flag is laying at the 37-yard line of NC State. Too late in getting off the snap.
Dead ball foul. Delay of game on offense. First down.
What about the change of offense by the South Carolina team, Kevin, since last year from the run and shoot to the multiple set?
Al Grove, former Wake Forest coach, and then with the Atlanta Falcons, now back in college, has changed the offense from the run and shoot to a multiple offense, mainly to help Todd Ellis, and we'll talk about that.
And, of course, Harold Green's skills come into play. It's 1st and 15. Back at the 48-yard line, it looked like Trent Simpson, the tight end on the left side, jumped across. Number 80, the man going across the line of scrimmage early.
That goes right along with what we just talked about. In last year's offense, South Carolina had no true tight ends. What they've had to do is develop tight ends like Trent Simpson and Watson. And George Rush, who is not really even a true tight end himself. He's a flanker type. So the bigger players, the tight end type player, is somebody who's very young on this team and new to the position.
Now it's 1st and 20, back at the 43. The pitch to the left to Harold Green, looking to get outside. And here come the Wolfpack. Michael Brooks from free safety. Great pursuit that time as they strung it out to the far side. It'll be 2nd and very long.
Well, Brooks makes the play, but watch number 21, Joe Johnson. So quick, he stepped inside and then watch himself work outside. He's going to get blocked, but 21 right to the right of your screen is the fella that strung it out. And here comes the rest of the Wolfpack defense. Team defense. They're very quick defensively, North Carolina State.
It'll be 2nd and 22. They actually lost a couple on the play. They were well across midfield. They've got to get all the way down to the 36 of NC State for a first down. Ellis with a screen. Right side, it's Harold Green. Nothing doing there as Scott Auer, the outside linebacker on the left side, a 6'2 senior, came up to make the play. Limping off a bit is Derek Debnam. That's the right tackle you're watching. And it'll be 3rd and 18.
This is a defense that was 8th in the ACC last year. Coming into today's action, Auburn was number 2, North Carolina number 1, North Carolina State number 1 in the nation defensively.
Mike Jones, a sophomore, is into the game replacing Debnam on 3rd and 18. Pressure, and it's incomplete. The Wolfpack will get the football. John Adlita pressuring the passer Ellis. Even had that been completed, only would have gained about 4 or 5 yards. So the Pack defense holds. And we'll get our first look of the night at Rodney Price, who's the punter for South Carolina. Rodney's averaging 38 yards a kick. 42 as a sophomore last year when he was honorable mention All-America. Wide receiver Naz Worthen back at his own 15 to receive it for the Wolfpack. A spiral will carry way down to the 7. Worthen, maybe 5 yards on the return. He was racked up pretty well by the special teams. The Wolfpack offensively, Shane Montgomery, one of 3 quarterbacks we could see tonight. Fullback Mal Crider is a key blocker. Tailback Todd Barn, one of 3 that could play there. Seniors Danny Peebles, Eugene Peters, fast and dangerous. We'll also see Naz Worthen there. Tight end senior Bobby Harrell. The center is all AC performer Chuck Massaro. The guards junior Lance Hammond and sophomore Rich Pokrant. And the senior Brock Miller, redshirt freshman Scott Adell are the tackles. Penalty flag is laying at the 37. It'll go against South Carolina. Kevin, it'll be very interesting here early to watch the Gamecock defense. Ever since they beat Georgia, they haven't played well early, and Georgia Tech took it 80-plus twice on them early 2 weeks ago.
On the offensive team, during the run back, 15 yards, touchdown.
Bobby, this is one of my favorite defenses in all of the nation to watch. It's a pressure defense, an emotional type defense. They'll come after you, and they are ranked 6th in the nation.
Shane Montgomery, right flat. Look at the turn inside by Naz Worthen for 9 yards and maybe more. He came in averaging 15 yards a catch. Defensively, the Gamecocks will go with sophomore Tim High, the nose guard. All-American Roy Hart is gone from there. Redshirt freshman Marty Dye, senior Derek Frazier are the tackles. With Shane Montgomery at quarterback, we'll see NC State go quite often into the hurry-up offense. He can really zip the ball out. Defensive tackles, we'll look at them. There's Dye and Frazier. Then we go to the defensive ends. Kevin Hendricks, the best defender on the team. Junior David Taylor on the open side. The inside backers are senior Derek Little and sophomore Patrick Hinton. Veterans Robert Robinson and Stephon Williams at the corners. And with Ron Rabune hurt, Scott Windsor and Pat Turner are the South Carolina safeties. It'll be 2nd and 1. Now Cripe, the fullback, Todd Horn, the tailback, and down to the nearly out to the 40-yard line. It's Cripe, the fullback, first man through. A real workman averaging 4 yards a carry. Nose guard Tim High got it.
Here it is, short yardage, good blocking up front. The ball carrier slips down. That's Mal Cripe. The footing here was not great over the last 2 days. It rained when we got to town on Thursday, and the field is not in great shape.
Interesting backfield configuration here. Now they hurry it up out to the left. There's Naz Worthen again. 30th catch of the year. He's up around 450 yards. Very interesting story. This guy, Kevin, in trouble and suspended a year ago.
A year ago, but he faced up to the problem. He handled it with dignity. He sat out a year. Naz Worthen, now the captain of the team. Not very often you see a kid suspended, comes back, he's the captain the next year, and a great player.
Just call him Naz. And almost picked off as coming up to play the pass was strong safety Scott Windsor. Shane Montgomery, a 6'1" junior out of Newark, Ohio.
You notice they go without a huddle. The reason they do that is to simplify the defense. When you go without a huddle, you cannot make a whole lot of defensive calls. Kind of puzzles me because South Carolina, not a very complicated defensive team to begin with.
3rd and 3. Worthen and Peebles out to the right side. That's where they go. It is Peebles. Danny, a 6-foot senior. Robert Robinson, the left cornerback, with the stop, but not before an NC State first down. The ball will be spotted inside the 46 of the Gamecocks. So NC State on the move and back out, ready to play in a hurry. Danny Peebles averaging 21 yards a catch. Number 8, top of your screen. Not much mystery here. Montgomery just looking out that way and over firing it. Peebles, the intended receiver, down around the 35-yard line.
I'll tell you what's a surprise is that Carolina, better not say Carolina tonight. The Gamecocks, Joe Lee Dunn, you see the defense coordinator, they're playing zone primarily. This is a man-to-man. Stuff them on the outside, play man-to-man with the corners. They're playing zone, and they have been very close to a couple of these passes, but they have not turned around. They've been running back into their zones. If they turn around, they might pick one off.
Montgomery 3 for 4, 25 yards. He'll throw for the 5th time. Out to the left flat, and a pretty good hit on Mike Cavulet by, again, the strong safety, Scott Windsor. A very versatile performer is number 20, who can also play the open side end. In other words, a defensive end that does some chasing, and he's a pretty good pass protector back in the secondary.
This is a guy, they call him a safety. This is zone with man under. See, Windsor's got man coverage, number 20, but they're playing zone back deep. Now, Windsor all over the receiver here. He weighs 225 pounds. They list him as a safety. He's a pounder.
Danny Peebles and Naz Worthen in on 3rd and 10. Peebles to the right, Worthen to the left. They're looking left side. It's in the air. Easy catch for a first down. inside the 25. Naz Worthen. A 22-yard gain on 3rd and 10.
It's got to be blown coverage. Pat Turner, number 12, is in for Rob Rabune, who was one of the leading players on the defense, the leading tackler. And Turner nowhere near Naz Worthen. That can't happen. He's their top receiver.
Rabune dislocated his shoulder against Georgia Tech. A lot of things went wrong that day. Worthen's caught 3 balls for 47 yards already. Looks like the fullback, first man through. Mal Pride, good yardage inside the 20, down to the 17. So the clock is running with 5 minutes and 20 seconds elapsed. Joe Morrison after number 100 career here this evening. Of course, he had some pretty good years at New Mexico. Went 10-1 there one year. Went 10-2 one year at South Carolina. This one will be intercepted. Patrick Hinton, and he is going to go. Just when NC State was looking to score, Patrick Hinton with a long return.
I talked about this just a few minutes ago. Hinton, usually they blitz their inside backers. Hinton is dropping into the short zone in front of the receiver. You see him? Now, he did not have Worthen. He had the underneath coverage in front of Worthen. Earlier, he didn't turn around. That time, he was looking at the quarterback, and he made the interception.
Colin Mackey, 21 for 21 now. And a big play by the defense early. 83 yards on the return. South Carolina on top early. Patrick Hinton, who now, as a second-year player, has 6 career interceptions.
Great athlete. You have to be a great athlete. Now, this is not the touchdown, but this is an earlier play. I want you to watch 46 Hinton. He will not intercept this one, but look at the position. See where he is? That was him on the left of your screen. They completed it to Peoples. They tried it again, and Hinton picked it off and scored. And I had told you he was in position, but he wasn't looking earlier. As soon as he turned his head, the ball was there.
11:30 a.m. tomorrow. Be with ESPN for NFL Game Day with Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, Pete Axthelm, and John Saunders. At 7 p.m. a new start time, so mark it down. They're all back with highlights of every NFL game played on NFL Primetime. And then at 8 p.m. the regular season premiere of our live NFL coverage. Join Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann for the Redskins and the Oilers. Just the first of 8 consecutive Sunday night NFL telecasts on ESPN.
Well, I talked about the Gamecock defense not playing with enthusiasm early in the game. That ought to cure it.
Eric Markle to kick it off. Chris Williams for NC State. Back inside his zone 5. He's flanked by Todd Thorne, as well as Shad Santee. It'll go to Williams. Nothing there. Big play on special teams by 81 linebacker Robert Gibson, performing on special teams. Now coming into today, NC State, the leader over Auburn. That might change.
Auburn shut out Florida, of course. Florida was third. That was a great defensive game until late. South Carolina very strong defensively. Always are. But, you know, NC State won the toss, and they deferred until the second half. Their defense did the job, but their offense gave up a score, and that's got to be a little demoralizing.
Yeah, it was looking good for a while. Tyrone Jackson, an exciting redshirt freshman in the game. Meanwhile, Shane Montgomery will still throw it, and it was way behind his intended receiver, Danny Peebles, who cut inside while the ball went outside. Patrick Hinton, the linebacker who made the big play a few moments ago, in the face of the quarterback with some pressure.
They're playing straight zone most of the time, and that's got to be messing up the North Carolina State people. They had to expect man coverage.
2nd and 10. 9:05 remaining. First quarter. Montgomery changing things at the line of scrimmage. 5 seconds to get off the snap as they do it. And it's short out to the right side. Chris Williams, a tailback, circling out, but uncatchable.
There are 3 quarterbacks that could play tonight for North Carolina State. The reason Shane Montgomery is in there, as you look at Pogue right there. Now, he's normally the starter. The reason Montgomery is in there is because he reads defenses better, and he has the ability to check off at the line of scrimmage, which you just saw him do. South Carolina, a team that will do a lot of different things defensively to try to mess you up.
Worthen and Peebles out wide on 3rd and 10. Nobody will catch this one. Naz Worthen was held up about 5 yards off the line of scrimmage as he made his cut. He just couldn't get outside. And so the Wolfpack will have to kick the football away, and the folks who came up from Columbia, South Carolina, dressed in black, trimmed in red, are making some noise.
I have a feeling you're going to see Pogue on the next series. With them playing zone, they're going to have to go back to the running game, to the option, try to get Montgomery out of there. They have to establish themselves offensively. Preston Pogue also the punter. That's it.
Yep. Replacing Craig Salmon, the All-ACC punter of a year ago. Pogue is averaging 41 yards a kick, end over end. He can only hope for the bounce. And the ball evidently hit Kent Jordan up midfield. Good field position for South Carolina. 8:47 left first quarter. The Gamecocks on top, 7-zip.
This is the big...
Trailing early, 7-0. To Joe Morrison and his Gamecocks of South Carolina. Good field position for the Gamecocks. With the ball almost at the 49. Ellis is 2 for 3 so far. He gives it to Keith Bing, the fullback. First man through, a 6'2", 208 senior. Ray Frost starting at the left inside linebacker, the strong side backer position, making the stop for NC State. Clock runs with 8.5 minutes in the first quarter. Todd Ellis, 57% completion rate on his career. 37 touchdown passes, but 59 intercepted. 9 of those over the last 2 ball games. They throw out to the right, tipped, and in position to make the pickoff was Joe Johnson. Had the ball been popped up in the air off the tip of Scott Auer. Dangerous to go wide on that play.
This guy's a great player. Auer, number 95. You're looking at him. He's got 15 hurries. That means he was close to a sack 15 times. Has 7 sacks on the year. Very mobile, very fast, and 225 pounds.
Most of the time, opponents will run away from his side. That time, they almost paid big time trying to throw to that side. It's 3rd and 3. The pitch to Harold Green. Feeling his way, and no way for the first down. Bumped out in between the 46 and the 45 by the drop end, the outside linebacker, if you will, Bobby Houston, and it'll be kicking time for the visiting team. Rodney Price, an honorable mention All-American as a sophomore a year ago, as he averaged 42 yards a kick. There's Naz Worthen. Price will spiral it toward the end zone. And a great bounce. It is downed inside the 5. He twisted it perfectly toward the flag. Marty Baker, defensive back on special teams, knocking it down and down to the sidelines. Here's Chris Fowler.
Okay, Bob, thank you. We've told you about the 9 interceptions Todd Ellis has thrown in the last 2 games. Offensive coordinator Al Groh told us the problem with Ellis, he's been throwing the ball when he shouldn't. He's so competitive, wants to make a big play every time instead of just taking the sack. He's working with Ellis after practice and some special drills. Here's Donnie. What Groh has done is move past for Ellis, tugged on his jersey. We'll have to see if he reacts to the pressure differently tonight, guys.
Nothing doing that offensive series for South Carolina, and good yardage straight ahead for the fullback, Mal Crite. This is where he's the most valuable man in the backfield because he holds on to the football. He grinds yards out. A career 900-plus gained. He's a senior. And they'll hurry it up even down here. It'll be 2nd and 5. Right up the middle to the 10-yard line. It'll leave them with a 3rd and a long 2 as Patrick Blackwell, a sophomore, backing up right tackle Derek Frazier, made the stop.
It's a very tough team to run the ball against. South Carolina commits a lot of people to the run normally. Tonight, of course, they came out in the zone. But this could be a difficult spot on the field for a team playing against South Carolina.
3rd and 2. Montgomery, left side, catching it is Naz Worthen. First down, past the 19-yard line. Pat Turner, the free safety who's replacing Ron Rabune, the senior, who Kevin alluded to earlier, on the stop. Interesting and good call on 3rd and 2.
Guy that made that play was 41. Mal Bright did a great job picking up the blitz in the backfield and giving Montgomery time to throw it to Worthen. Watch right at the middle. Watch 41 right there. Great block. Montgomery doesn't even feel the pressure. He gets the ball out to Worthen, who's got man-to-man coverage, and they get a big first down. This is a great job. You know, this is something that you rarely see. See 41 there? You rarely see it. And a good pass by Montgomery, not paying attention to the South Carolina defense, and Worthen getting upfield.
Kevin, from that replay, you get a look at how dangerous Naz Worthen is once he catches the football. The injured player is Bobby Brown, a redshirt freshman reserve tackle for South Carolina. Hate to see him carried off. South Carolina on top 7-0 with less than 7 minutes remaining in the first quarter of play. Chris Williams will check in for NC State as they will have a first down out near their own 20-yard line. Shane Montgomery 5 for 11 with 1 intercepted. He's thrown for 57 yards so far. Single back set. And that single back does some blocking as he throws it right side. Danny Peebles out over the 30. It'll be another NC State first down, that time good for 12 yards. Well, a real wild one just down the road in North Carolina today.
Last play of the game, Maryland won that game.
Duke, 10-point win over Georgia Tech. Tech playing better these days, and Virginia had all kinds of problems with the Hokies before holding on for a 6-point win. Montgomery again out to the right side. It's tailback Chris Williams. So Shane Montgomery is an equal opportunity thrower. He's spreading the passes around to all kinds of different people.
And you'll see a lot of different players because North Carolina State plays a tremendous amount of people. They have a lot of depth, and they'll use a lot of receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, a lot of guys.
Hurry up offense makes it 2nd and 7. Montgomery shifting his backs into the eye. And straight ahead, Chris Williams. Williams averaging just 3 yards a carry, 9 per catch. Derek Little and Tim High, linebacker and nose guard, in on the stop for South Carolina. The Gamecocks came in giving up 115 yards rushing, 140 passing, 255 total defensive game. And as our graphic showed you earlier, good defensive team. They've only given up 12.5 points a game. Now it's 3rd and 6. To the pocket he stepped, and there to get him for South Carolina, number 42 is David Taylor, the linebacker.
Here's why Montgomery's in the game. He's calling an audible, changing the play because he sees something defensively. Now this is something he does better than the other quarterbacks, but you can change the play all you want. When you get coverage like they had on Naz Worthen on that play, you're going to get a sack.
Carl Platt back to receive the kick of Preston Pogue. On the run, he takes it out to 37 and down to the 40-yard line. Looked like the short man got it. Robert Brooks back on the punt return team. 5:10 first quarter. South Carolina by a touchdown. Knee ligaments against Clemson recently, and he is out for the season.
Not only the emotional leader, but when they lose him, they lose 74 tackles, 2 sacks, 5 hurries, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumbles caused so far this year. He's gone for the year, and that hurts.
Then they plug 2 freshmen and 2 sophomores into those inside linebacker positions. Good field position for USC of the East, I guess we'll call him. Straight ahead goes Keith Bing. He's across the 40. Being a 6', 208 senior out of Aiken, South Carolina, averages 4 yards a carry. He's the only running back who managed to play in the spring. A bunch of injuries they had.
Joe Pate, the Wolfpack defensive coordinator, felt that North Carolina State had to stop the Gamecock running game first.
Second down and 6. Pitch to the deep man, Harold Green. He turns the corner, look out. He gets inside the 35. They need to get to the 31 for the first down. So he'll get about 3 on the carry. Harold Green has been hobbled a little bit this year, but he's getting stronger every game.
Number 68, Calvin Stevens. If you're a linebacker, look at Ray Frost, 49, reading the linebacker pulling. He comes in, he destroys that block. The rest of the defense catches up. And now Frost is the guy that has replaced Stone. He read Stevens, was able to blow it up in the backfield, and that's what stopped the play.
Double tight ends, Trent Simpson and Ike Harris in there. On 3rd and short, the pitch to Green. Number 2 is Fernandez Vinson, the left cornerback. Met him head on. It looked like there was no way Green would be stopped for the first down.
You got to be impressed with the red jerseys. Watch how many get in front of this play. True sophomore Vincent is going to make the tackle. No way to go outside. And here comes Vincent. Look at all the red shirts to the sideline. Gamecocks tried to run to the boundary. They won't try that again. North Carolina State very, very quick to the sideline.
Sophomore Colin Mackey into the game for the field goal attempt. Mackey last year, number 1 in the NCAA with 25 field goals as a freshman. Pretty good from the long distance of 40 to 49. He's been most consistent in his career, 10 for 15 on the season. They'll bring the chains all the way across for the measurement. It appeared, though, he was stopped short. A good yard.
Now, if they decide to go for this, they have been running to the weak side.
Well, Mackey checks back out.
All right, North Carolina State defensively defends the wide side or the open side of the field. It's on the right hash. So if I'm playing defense, I'm looking for him to run right here.
Clock running with 3.5 minutes first quarter. South Carolina already on top and going for it on 4th down. And easily over the 30 for the first down. Harold Green, Bobby Houston, the outside linebacker on the right side, finally brought him down.
The key is the line, and who wins at the line of scrimmage? The offensive line, you can see they just get off quicker. And then the running back able to find, that's Harold Green, able to find the hole. And you know, you don't run the holes anymore. You look for holes. When you find one, you run up in there. That's good offense by the Gamecocks.
You also saw fullback Keith Bing come ramming in there for a block. Ellis flares it out, right side. 22, Harold Green inside the 10. It finally took the free safety, Michael Brooks, to tackle him after a 22-yard gain. So we see the versatility of Harold Green. On the sidelines as SC drives, here's Chris Fowler.
Hey, Bob, the defensive lineman Bobby Brown for the Gamecocks, we saw carried off in their last series, is okay. He twisted his left ankle. Trainers put about a mile of tape on it. They want him to come back in, Bob.
All right, they've got 3 guys to play that position, so some depth. First and goal from the 9. Fumble on the exchange. And Harold Green, the tailback, saw it and got on the football in a hurry.
Everything happens a little bit quicker when you get near the goal line. Even the snap, you have to be careful. You can't go anywhere until you get the snap from center.
George Rush, a backup wide receiver, is checked in. We saw Harold Green go out a moment ago. Mike Dingle, a backup fullback, is in the game. He's the deep man behind Keith Bing. And now timeout called by South Carolina with 1:57 remaining in the first quarter of play, and on top 7-0 on that big 83-yard interception return for a touchdown by linebacker Patrick Hinton.
It's a very difficult position for a team without a natural tight end. Remember, last year they played the run and shoot. They do not play it this year. They do not have a natural tight end, and that causes some problems. You can see the difference between Ellis when South Carolina wins and when they lose. Touchdown passes 22 in the 17, wins just 12 in the 10 losses. Interceptions, of course, a lot more interceptions. 9 of those interceptions, of course, have come in the last 2 weeks, so that's almost an even figure. Obviously, he plays better when they win, but as I said earlier, he's been under a lot of pressure, lost all of his starting receivers last year, and the Harold Green you're seeing tonight, number 22, is not the Harold Green that has been playing all year. He's had 2 weeks to recover, and he's as healthy as he has been all year.
Been aggravated by a sprained ankle. That's the injury we alluded to earlier. It'll be 2nd and goal from the 12.5-yard line.
Look out for a flag to the flag or a crossing pattern here.
George Rush and Robert Brooks out to the left. Everybody covered across the middle, intercepted. A flag on the play as Corey Edmond picks it off. Outside his 20, out of bounds at the 24 to 25-yard line. A flag flew on the play. It's laying at the 18 as NC State apparently has gotten the football back. Great pass coverage all over the field, Kevin.
Very well. When you're playing with less field, as we're going to see this call, it might be holding. Looked like it was in that area. When you're playing defense close to the goal line, there's really only one place you can go to use your speed, and that's across the field. So if you're inside
on the offense, his line.
So if you're an inside linebacker, you've got to be looking right and left for those people to come across the middle. Now Edmonds is a defensive back type of a linebacker. He's going to sit back there. See him read the eyes, looking for the crossing pattern, standing right in the middle, able to make that interception. That's great coaching. That happens during the week. You prepare a kid. And here's that crossing pattern we talked about. Bang, and State's got the ball.
So each team with an interception. 1:45 first quarter. Wolfpack running it straight ahead and diving straight ahead. The tailback, Todd Varn, a 6-foot junior from West Columbia, South Carolina. So he's coming up here to NC State right from Gamecock country down there. He got the ball out over the 30. And they'll set up 2nd and a short 5. First man through. Bouncing off people. Fullback Mal Kripe. Derek Little came up from the tight side linebacker position. Little 99. There's a look.
I'm watching the Gamecocks as they come to the line of scrimmage. I'm watching their defense. They're doing a great job of disguising defense and moving around. As you look, watch them move in and out. See if they do it on this play.
Derek Frazier, 90, the man you saw.
This looks like man coverage to me as they move up on the corner here.
And Shane Montgomery wants a timeout.
Well, Bobby, that's what they're doing. See, they're confusing Montgomery. They're moving around, just moving a few steps here and there, and it's just driving them crazy. North Carolina State having a very difficult time picking up the defense. Now watch number 16 at the bottom of your screen as he starts to walk up. Now if I'm playing quarterback, I'm thinking that's going to be bump and run, but he stops. Montgomery can't read this defense. He's trying to call an audible. He has to call timeout. That's great coaching by Joe Lee Dunn, the defensive coordinator. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this team, and they are ready.
All right, so with a break in the action, 46 seconds, first quarter remaining. Here's Chris Fowler on the sidelines.
Okay, Bob, I'm here with the North Carolina State National Championship College Bowl team. They defeated Emory in Chicago last spring for that title. Emory with a better College Bowl team than they have a football team. Here's Chuck Fussell, the captain of the NC State team. Let me throw out some questions here. It's a presidential year. How about a presidential question? What was the closest election in history?
Electoral votes or popular votes?
Electoral votes, Chuck.
Electoral votes. Give it to him, Larry. Oh, now you're on the spot. We go.
Don't let me down here.
Haiti and Nixon. We tried to cheat anyway to win.
Capital of Uganda.
Luanda. Kampala.
There's a disagreement here. Which is it?
Kampala.
Okay, here's a sports question. Where did our analyst Kevin Kiley play college football?
Miami, Ohio.
It's a stump, but back up to you guys.
Right.
What's Joe Paterno's favorite ice cream? That's what I want to know.
Well, he won't find it in West Virginia. On 3rd and 3, nothing there. Mal Kripe, the carrier. Sophomore nose guard, Tim Hyde. Met him head on, and that is it for this series. The Wolfpack will have to kick it.
Great series by South Carolina. They do so many things. They confuse you, jump around on the line. They did a great job against State on that series.
Preston Pogue to punt it. Robert Brooks is back at his own 30. This one will carry back near the 20. Looks like good coverage. South Carolina wanted good field positions, but unable to get it that time. Mark Thomas, 53 on the special teams, 47 yards on the kick. Virtually no return. Be sure to be with ESPN next Saturday, 11:30 a.m. for College Game Day. Tim Brando and Beano Cook provide the most comprehensive hour in college football. Then immediately following game day, it's the Ivy League as the Princeton Tigers take on the Bulldogs of Yale. A couple of other matchups coming up for you next Saturday. We're taking time to pick the best possible matchups for you on ESPN, and you'll hear about those in the next couple of days. First quarter about to come to a close with 4 seconds remaining. And really changing ends means nothing tonight because there is no breeze here at Carter Finley Stadium. Harold Green just a couple of yards, and that's how the first quarter comes to an end as Mark Thomas, the right outside linebacker, comes up to make the stop. So the first 15 minutes are history here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Defense, the difference in this game so far. Nine to go for South Carolina at their own 12-yard line. Pitch to the deep man, Harold Green. Almost tackled in the backfield by Jesse Campbell, the strong safety, but that slowed him enough so free safety Michael Brooks could come up and make the play. Jesse Campbell, what a great future he has here as a freshman safety.
Just a youngster coming up, and watch Scott Hour, 95. This is picture book defense. Got his hands on the offensive guy again. Now watch him string this thing out. And there you have the people from the secondary coming up to make the tackle. But Hour is a guy, those 15 hurries I talked about, other people have been getting sacks, other people getting tackles because he does his job. 95, strings it out.
Third down and 11. The fullback is Keith Bain. Nowhere near first down yardage. Billy Ray Hines, a true freshman at inside linebacker, spelling Corey Edmond with the stop on the play.
Now listen to the crowd for this defense. Time to remember, only one team has gotten into the end zone all year against North Carolina State. That was Maryland, and that's their one loss.
Nice job by the defensive squad of NC State. Naz Worthen back to receive the punt of Rodney Price. Nice spiral will go back to the 40-yard line. One way, then the other, outside, and maybe about 3 yards on the return, as Naz Worthen was knocked down by David Durkin and Corey Miller on the special teams.
Good no call by the official. Watch as the ball is punted. Watch two NC State players run into each other and then fall into the punter. That's a great no call by the official because there's no way that's a penalty. Look at him. Look, he's looking for a penalty. No penalty.
13:34 before halftime. Tyrone Jackson in. That's Mark Fryer, the right tackle, being tended to on the South Carolina sideline. And while down on the field, Derek Frazier reaches out and trips the ball carrier. He was being blocked down and still had time to stop Chris Williams. No gain on the play. Shane Montgomery rifles it up the middle. Eugene Peters, the 6-foot senior, averaging 14 yards a catch, unable to hold on as he fell to the ground reaching for the ball. Storyline, Raleigh, North Carolina. Pat Hinton, the big play of the game. As NC State was driving for what appeared to be a first touchdown, he picked it off and went untouched down the sidelines. First down, NC State's been a lot better than the so-called offensive team of South Carolina. Third down and 10. Good protection. Right side, Naz Worthen inside the 35. Worthen having a big night. Beat Robert Robinson, the left cornerback, a 25-yard gain.
Well, here's that man coverage we've been looking for. Robinson gives him a big cushion. Robinson's the best defensive back on this team, but Worthen's a great player and a future pro. And this ball is thrown underneath where it should be. Worthen making the catch. Big first down. Biggest play of the night for State.
32 yards from the end zone. Quick opener to the fullback, Mal Crite. Not much there, Kevin Hendricks. That's Mark Fryer, the right tackle, getting the left shin all iced up. Chris Fowler, of course, patrolling the sidelines for us, and he'll update any injury situations or sideline information for you. 12:15 remaining in the second quarter. South Carolina on top, 7-0. Intercepted. It's Hinton again. Patrick Hinton trying for running room to the far side. He picks up a big block, and he has a chance to go. That block evidently was a clip. Down to the 20 and 18-yard line. The clip will erase a good part of the run back, but South Carolina will again have the football.
Well, first of all, if it's that block, it was not a clip, Bobby. They may have called it a clip, but it wasn't a clip. Now, this coverage is just confusing Montgomery. See, Hinton is lined up inside. Now, what they've got man coverage on a corner, but what they do is they bring Hinton underneath, which amounts to double coverage. Montgomery's not reading it. He hasn't read it all night. And now we're going to see what Patrick can do with the ball. Now, here's the block coming up. If the head is in front, oh, it is a clip. That was a clip. You're right, Bobby.
First down.
A big clip because it really, all he has to do is put his head on the other side, and it's not a clip.
Matt McKernan.
Yeah, I mean, he had position. All he had to do was get that head out in front, and he had position to do it, and he didn't.
Well, it cost him 66 yards worth of return, plus the yardage stepped off, so they're back at their own 18-yard line, but another turnover in favor of the visiting team. Harold Green. Good running room. He explodes and gets inside. Finally pulled down over the 40-yard line. Scott Auer from outside linebacker pursuing about 30 yards up the field.
Green could not practice in the spring. He had problems in the fall. He's had problems all year, but these past 2 weeks he's grown healthy. What difference does it make? This is what difference it makes, and I'm sure Todd Ellis is smiling from ear to ear. He'll make Ellis a better quarterback, and if he can do more than that.
What a night for the linebacker Patrick Hinton. 3 interceptions on the year, 2 tonight, and 8 for his career. Flag is down. Clock stop with 11:20 remaining, second quarter.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on the offense.
That could be the taunting rule. That could be that rule where somebody said something or they made some kind of a movement towards the defense. There is a new rule this year about taunting. You know, this Patrick Hinton thing reminds me of a story about Joe Paterno where he was getting ready to play a game and he told one of his linebackers, he said, if they line up here, I want you to run here and stand there, and he'll throw you the ball. Just stand right here. And game came, and whoever the player was, they lined up in a certain formation. He ran to the spot. He stood there, and the quarterback threw him the ball, and he ran for a touchdown. That's happened twice tonight here with Hinton.
Mike Dingle into the game at fullback for South Carolina on 1st and 25. He circles out right, actually receives a lateral pass, and then breaks it up over the 30. Michael Brooks, free safety. Pretty good improvisation there by Mike Dingle, the sophomore. Well, they've got a ways to go yet. Ball is out over the 30 to about the 33. There's your score as we approach 10.5 minutes remaining before halftime. A big game in these parts. When NC State plays North Carolina, that's their #1 rivalry, but this one not far behind. Draw play. Straight ahead, Keith Bain. Over the 35, and they'll face 3rd and long as Elijah Austin, the sophomore nose guard, with help from Grady Harris at right tackle on the stop.
Tennessee Chattanooga, big history here. Joe Pate, the offensive coordinator for North Carolina State, was hired by Joe Morrison, the head coach of South Carolina when he was at Tennessee Chattanooga, so they've got kind of an eye on this game.
3rd and 15. Todd Ellis, too tall down the right sideline. Anthony Parler, a 6'3" sophomore, young player of great promise for this club, but not up to what they had to throw to a year ago. And Ellis will walk to the sideline on another kicking situation. The Wolfpack will get it back with 9:49 remaining before halftime.
North Carolina State has blocked 5 punts this season, and they came close last time.
He's punted 3 times for 41 yards as Rodney Price. Nasworthen will take this one at the 22. Cuts upfield. Big seam. He may go. Oh, he was touched at the 45-yard line, or he would have broken that one. Pat Turner finally got him down, and the hit was made at midfield by David Durkin, or he was gone. It might have tied the game. The feeling you can get only in a Jeep. By the U.S. Army, learn how to get an edge on life. Be all you can be. And by new Right Guard Sports Stick from Gillette. Antiperspirant and deodorant. Anything less would be uncivilized. Very close to breaking this one was Nasworthen.
Yeah, and remember, they had a block on. There were 10 men up at the line of scrimmage. Not much blocking. If Corey Miller doesn't get a hand on him right there, as Bobby said, he was gone. He's gone far enough as it is. He got to the 46. 45.
40-yard kick and 35 on the return. Great field position for the Wolfpack. Scoreless so far. Shane Montgomery, right side. Nasworthen, his knee touched inside the 40. That's where they'll down it. It'll be good for 5 yards or so. But again, nothing fancy, nothing complicated from Shane Montgomery to his wide receivers. Nasworthen is having a big night. He came in with 28 catches for 432 yards. At this rate, he's going to add about 50% to that total tonight. They'll call it a gain of 6. Worthen again. This time close to first down yardage inside the 35. Robert Robinson, left cornerback, bumped him out. Looks like that one will move the chains.
Watch Hinton, 46, just off the 40-yard line in the white shirt. Watch him sneaking back into his zone, trying to stop this thing. But Montgomery is able to get the ball out there again. That's why Montgomery's in there. He reads defenses very well, and he has a quick release. Not a great arm, but a quick release. But remember, 2 of those have been picked off so far tonight.
Eugene Peters and Shad Santee in as the wide receivers, a senior and a freshman. Give us to the deep man, Chris Williams. Nothing there. Pat Turner finished him off.
There's Turner in for Rabune. Rabune was the leading tackler. That's a big load on this kid's back. Now, Turner originally was at South Carolina, transferred to Georgia Tech, then transferred back to South Carolina. This is his first extensive action in 4 years. He's really been kind of on the bus for 4 years, and now he's back playing, and he's got some big shoes to fill.
He's also a converted quarterback. It's 2nd and 11. Montgomery 10 for 18, 2 picked off, and it's set 9, courtesy of Kevin Hendricks. He had into the game 21 tackles. 7 of them were behind the line of scrimmage.
Hendricks, the best athlete on the South Carolina defense. This is what they do. You threaten them, and they're going to come after you. Number 98, just never picked up. Montgomery, with all the reading and checking off he does, it won't help him if they don't stop this guy, Kevin Hendricks, from North Carolina.
At the 41-yard line, they have to get to the 24. Hendricks out of Hookery.
Screen and draw against the pressure defense. Screen and draw.
They picked up the rushes pretty well. Out to the right side. And unable to hold on was Danny Peebles. Good defense there by Pat Turner, joined by his left corner, Robert Robinson. It'll be 4th and 17.
That was a tremendous pass by Montgomery. That ball had no right throwing that thing, and he just dropped it right in there to Peebles, and Peebles didn't hold on to it. It was a really excellent throw.
Preston Pogue will kick it, and up till now, South Carolina drops no one back to receive the punt.
Pogue's a quarterback, remember.
And it's 4th and 17.
And they're in South Carolina territory, so they need to be careful here.
Pat Turner's back at his own 25-yard line, but nobody except the official in deep receiving territory. And they will get a delay penalty here, which at this stage of field position on the kick doesn't mean a whole lot. Dick Sheridan, 3rd year here. 18 wins, 11 losses, a tie at NC State. 87 career wins after some great years at Furman. He was also the athletic director
Dead ball
there.
foul, delay of game on the offense, 4th down.
Furman of the Southern Conference, and the counterpart was the great New York Giant, Mr. Morrison. First penalty against the Wolfpack. Pretty much the same situation. Pat Turner back but not deep. Hogue will try to hang it up, and instead he end over ends it down there. Doesn't get a very good bounce, and the ball doesn't even stay inside the 15-yard line. So 7:26 remaining before halftime. Gamecocks on top of the Wolfpack, 7-zip.
According to the book, we got 3 minutes. Tonight, we're going to beat the book. Let's move out.
In today's field artillery, the emphasis is on training and motivation, because a high-tech system like this Army rocket launcher is only as good as the people who run it.
We're here. All that you can be. Arm rockets, fire. Did we beat the book, Sergeant? We rewrote the book. Get an edge on life in the Army.
When the stars come out to play, baby, a twinkling show, ooh, dinner out of sight. Yeah, the night time is golden light time. Big Dipper at McDonald's. Showtime is night tonight.
The most powerful engine in its class. 4 doors, room for 5. Available 4-wheel anti-lock brakes. We've done our part in separating Jeep Cherokee from everything else. Now it's your turn.
Save up to $1,600 on select 1989 Jeep Cherokees.
The student athlete of the game is brought to you by the U.S. Army. Get an edge on life, be all you can be, and tonight's recipient is South Carolina offensive tackle Mark Fryer. Mark, a 3.5 GPA in accounting, will be looking to make it 2 straight years on the academic All-American team. Injured a little bit earlier this evening. We hope Mark is okay. He's not in the ball game right now as the Gamecocks of South Carolina start 1st and 10 at their own 15. Todd Ellis 3 for 7 with an interception, good for 27 yards. Harold Green is doing most of the work offensively. Last year, NC State a nightmare defensively, but this year a dream come true.
Look at that rushing yards, 85.9 a game versus 208. You can look right down there, and then the touchdowns, 19 at this point last year, 4, and they have not given one up tonight. Very quick, a lot younger last year, a lot of maturity this year, even though they have young players.
2nd and 10. First man cleared. Keith Bing, the fullback. Forget it. Ray Agnew, left tackle, who really fights off blocks, helped by Elijah Austin, the nose guard.
Well, the book on South Carolina, out of the eye, they're a running team. In the split backs, they're a passing team. So when they come out in the eye, as you look at Auer dragging them down with help from Agnew, when they come out in the eye, you're reading run. When they come out in the split backs, it's pass.
3rd and 9. They haven't done it yet tonight, and they still haven't. Scott Auer on the ball carrier, Keith Bing, who will come up about a yard short.
Remember what I just told you now. They come out 3rd and 10 in the I formation. So if they come out in split back, you'll be more likely to drop back and that play will work. But when they come out in the I, you've got to check that fullback first. North Carolina State very well drilled, and they stopped the play.
Scott Auer, number 95. You saw him coming off with the defensive squad to kick it and receive it. Worthen, the receiver. Price, the kicker. Wolfpack was coming. Twisting spiral. It'll bounce back and be downed out near the 45 of the 46-yard line. So good field position for NC State after that 35-yard kick. 5.5 first half. Still 7-0 Gamecocks.
At Dick Brooks Hyundai in Greer, one of our greatest...
Wolfpack with a good field position at their 45. The last 3 times they started out from their own 43, their own 45 twice. So field position is changing a bit. Chris Williams improvising and tumbling ahead for about 4 yards. Tim High, the nose guard on the tackle. The first 4 times they had it, Kevin, they took over from their 29, 21, their 2, and their 25. So that aspect of the game changing a bit here late in the first half.
They need to make something out of this, though, Bobby, because South Carolina is dominating this game defensively, as well as North Carolina State. But Carolina's got those. South Carolina's got 7 points.
I'll call it a gain of 3. 2nd and 7. Williams off the left side, trying to get a little help from Brock Miller, the left tackle, number 79. David Taylor, the open side end, came up to destroy that play. And the clock continues to run. A lot of red, a lot of black in the crowd tonight. The black trimmed with red of South Carolina, the red and white of NC State. It's one of the things that bowl people like. These South Carolina fans follow this team around. They usually take about 35,000 to a bowl game, and that's the name of the game these days. 3rd and 3. Not much time. Naz Worthen almost took it right off the back of Robert Robinson, who had trouble finding the ball. Kevin Hendricks pressuring the passer.
Well, Hendricks in his face, unbelievable. This is like a 3-step drop and throw it. 1, 2, 3, and this pass again. Here's Hendricks in his face. This pass is perfectly thrown into coverage. Montgomery doing a great job getting it off, and almost a tremendous catch by Worthen. Look at this ball. That's pretty good defense, too. Robert Robinson.
Nobody back to receive the kick of Pogue. Hits it high this time. It'll hit in the end zone. So South Carolina gets it back with 4:14 remaining in the first half, still leading 7-0. Again, the 83-yard interception return for a touchdown in the first quarter by Patrick Hinton. The difference in the ball game. There's the big result of the day. The Cougars at the Rose Bowl beating UCLA. Notre Dame should be number 1. USC should be number 2. Miami of Florida should be number 3.
That's where the battle begins.
That's
right.
Number
3. I like West Virginia.
And Nebraska struggled against Missouri. West Virginia could leapfrog over a lot of folks after hammering Penn State today. Keith Bing, the ball carrier, on first down. Nose guard Elijah Austin took care of him as the clock runs under 4 minutes. Stadium here holds 47,000 at Carter Finley, but they can get 55,000 in here. Because as you look at the far end, that's a big old grassy hill. About 2/3 of it NC State fans, and the rest of it South Carolina fans. Harold Green powering his way near a first down. Ray Frost, the left inside linebacker, finally write him down, but Harold Green running strong.
A nice job by Robert Brown on the corner, number 78. Here's Frost filling in for Stoner. He's running laterally, just getting out there, making sure he takes a good angle and making the tackle. Here's a kid who was supposed to be redshirted, gave up the redshirt year after 7 games to help the team out. Ray Frost.
With the injury to Fred Stone. There's the grassy hill where they're sitting in the end zone. 3rd and 1. And the fullback, Keith Bing, over the 30 for the first down. That'll keep possession for USC. That'll keep the clock moving. It's under 3 minutes now.
Bing's a guy, all he does is what you ask him. He's not big, not real fast. He's just a tough player who'll go in there. If you need a yard, he'll try and get it for you.
Well, the coaches like him because he knows his role. 2 roles, really. Inside running occasionally on 3rd and short, and he's a very good blocker. First down at the 31 with 2:35 remaining. Pitch pitch to Green, but a whistle and a flag. They got the play off in time.
Dead ball foul, illegal procedure on the offense, first down.
I think what you're seeing here, Joe Morrison is telling you he thinks his defense can stop North Carolina State. 7 penalties on South Carolina has not hurt them. 7 for 72. State is yet to get on the board. NC State 1 for 5. But by this play calling in the I formation running game, he's eating up the clock in the second quarter. He believes his defense can stop State.
There was a clip on an interception return that did not help South Carolina. And NC State's penalty was basically a purpose penalty as they just let clock run down on a punting situation from midfield. Now the clock is down to about 2 minutes remaining. Ron Rabune, the senior free safety leading tackler, had an interception, dislocated a shoulder at Georgia Tech 2 weeks ago, and he is out.
You may wonder how valuable he is. South Carolina's pretty much changed their entire defensive scheme with the zone because he's not in the game.
2nd and 12. Ellis, not a very big night throwing so far, and it's delivered low and dropped. Harold Green, the intended receiver. A flag in the backfield might indicate a little roughing on the passer. Todd Ellis, some awesome totals in his collegiate career. 3,020 yards passing as a freshman, 3,206 as a sophomore. He's on a pace to surpass Todd Santos, the former San Diego State star, for #1 all-time in Division 1A. Was he roughed?
Roughing the passer on the defense. First down.
It's going to be Auer coming from the right side. I don't know. That's a judgment call. Not a whole lot of damage done. Being a defensive player, Auer doesn't like it. You know, also the thing about Ellis is his numbers aren't real good, but I believe this is the 3rd different offense he's had to learn in 3 years. And that's got to be tough on his kid.
First down at the 44. Over the middle, nearly intercepted by Corey Edmond, the weak side linebacker. Pressure on the passer again, number 95, Scott Auer.
What he does so well, he puts his hands on the offensive blocker. Watch him use his hands. It's, you know, he just pushes him away, and then he puts the pressure. Remember, 15 hurries. You can give him another hurry here, and almost an interception because of that. That's what Auer does for you. Mike Jones almost picking that thing off. Good player.
Scott Auer has a brother, Neil, who just signed on as a freshman fullback on this team. And looses Harold Green on 2nd and 10, a big play. South Carolina.
You know, if you're playing defense against this team and they come out and split backs, you got to read through the line to Harold Green. They're never going to give the ball to the fullback in that set. If they run, it's going to be to Green, so you have got to watch it.
2 timeouts remaining for the Gamecocks. 3rd and 3. They're approaching field goal range. Keith Bing, the fullback, for another first down. So they'll stop the clocks while they move the chains. 1:06 remaining. But South Carolina in a tough, low-scoring defensive game so far. Would love to add at least 3 going into the locker room. And they've got a good young kicker to do it with. Ellis, just a little soft one up the middle. Keith Bing, the fullback, to the 41, maybe the 42-yard line. Ray Frost and Corey Edmond at a linebacker to stop him, but South Carolina keeps moving it. Now they hurry things up. 2nd and 5. Clock reads 35. Right up the middle of Harold Green. Pretty good sticking taking place there. Ray Frost. Also Corey Edmond, 47. The inside backers collapsed on him. It'll be 3rd and 5 with 30 seconds remaining before halftime.
I don't know why Harold Green is running a little swing circle pattern over the middle. He should be breaking this thing outside. The linebackers are sitting in the middle. Watch Green, 22. He's running right into the linebackers. And he's pretty much getting what he deserves there. You got to break that thing outside and hook it up. He'll be open.
3rd and 5, and there was movement evidently on the offensive line of South Carolina. The flag flew from the line judge on the near side. That could make it 3rd and 10.
Dead ball foul. Illegal procedure. Still third down.
That is penalty number 8 on the visiting team.
Well, again, this is a team that has not had a great deal of time to practice together. Their offensive people have been injured most of the year, and that could have something to do with it. Now look out for something down the middle behind the linebackers. They've got about 12 yards to go.
Keep in mind they have a kicker who's kicked twice successfully this year from 50 yards plus. And nothing doing there. Harold Green. Those inside backers double teaming him again, but even Todd Mackey can't reach it from this range. Colin Mackey came in 10 for 15 on the year. He's hit from 52 and 50.
Oh, I don't know why they would punt here. I don't know. And I don't think North Carolina State's buying this either. I don't know why they would punt.
This one will carry to the end zone. So with 15 seconds remaining, South Carolina playing it conservatively. No chances taken. They'll let the defense try to stop NC State as they have throughout this first half. Well, Kevin, let's talk a little bit about this first half. Your impressions so far? You expected a low-scoring game.
I thought the defenses would control the game. The difference really is that one bad read by Montgomery and Hinton sitting out there and catching the ball and running it in. We've seen great defense. I like defense. I like this game. I hope it's more of the same in the second half.
Spoken like a true Wyoming defender. Handoff time. Chris Williams, the tailback. A sophomore from Cleveland, Ohio, and that will do it for the first half of play. We expected a tough defensive football game, and we've got one so far. The interception returned by Patrick Hinton, the only score, 7-0 South Carolina. And now to the studio for Tim Brando.
All right, Bob Carpenter, Kevin Kiley, and Chris Fowler, thank you. 7-0 at halftime. Boy, do we have a lot to cover. We're going to have a new #1 team next week. We'll
to the 47, and what a way for the second half to start for a home team that's been struggling offensively. Robert Robinson finally brought him down after